What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Let's talk about the evil D word. I made a video a while back documenting and speaking closely about my brush with it. And a lot of people related to it, and it did really well. I'm going to cover that story again, give my perspective on it now, 10 years later, for making that video, basically, and do my best to give you some tools to deal with this, because part of it is our perspective on it and our understanding and misunderstanding of it. The other one is once we hit and run into it, right? I'm not saying the word because I don't know if it's going to get demonetized, right? These social media platforms are insane now. Can't say anything. But when you're in it, there's your understanding of it and perspective on it, then what you do when you're in it. I want to discuss both in this video today. So, hitting the conclusion of my basketball career due to injuries, right? I had 2 major ankle surgeries. I had aspirations of playing in the NBA. I played in college. I played overseas. Did very well, right? Did a lot of summer league stuff, and I was knocking on that door. I really wanted to be in the NBA. I had visions when I was a kid, and who knows if I would have made it or not, right? I can't sit here and say, oh yeah, I for sure would have made it. Who knows? But by 24, 25, barely starting to get into my prime, I had to hang them up, right? And I was devastated at the time, right? I'm not going to give you all the little specifics about it, but I was devastated, in tears, doubting myself, thinking, I had spent from age basically, 12, 13. And then I really, really got serious around high school, right? Like junior, senior year, about really dedicating myself. Even though I did when I was younger too, thinking, man, the last decade or more of my life is poof, gone. Like I put all my eggs in this basket. This is what I wanted to do. I'm not interested in anything else. So it weighed on me a lot. I even remember my dad, and I'm sure he'll watch this video, he said for a minute he was worried about me because he knew how much it meant to me and how I really wanted to make it. So long story short, it ends. I end up staying at the time with my uncle in South America. I ended up staying there about a year, roughly, right? Working with him and stuff. And really it was a method of me delaying coming back to reality. I knew when I officially come back and land on American soil, the dream is over. I have to turn another, page onto a new chapter, and I got to get my ish together. And at 24, 25, I was not obviously mentally as mature as I am now. I didn't value the same things. I really didn't start getting my stuff together, I would say, until my late 20s. Like when I decided and fully was into like real estate and sales and entrepreneurship, and really diving deep into understanding myself more and really developing as a man and as a human being. That's when I started getting my stuff together. Up until then, I was just an athlete, right? Kind of the traditional athlete, probably bonehead, meathead type of dude. Not stupid, but I remember when I got into this stuff and started producing content, I would get messages from people in the past like, wow, I didn't know you were smart, right? Pretty funny to think about that, right? But I knew, going back to the story, I knew when I came back, it was facing reality. So in a way, I kind of wanted to delay it. People do not understand what I went through in that time, though. I went through a period of extreme victimization, saying my dream was taken away from me. This isn't fair. It wasn't because I wasn't good enough. It was because of bad luck and injuries, and God must have had it out for me, right? I went through that whole list, being upset, not talking to people, being mad, playing the victim, all that stuff. And I was extremely sad. It almost reminded me of like the first time I had my heart broken when I was really young, with a girl, being super young. And it was a tough time, right? A range of emotions, not feeling good. And I would say the D word came in because I noticed a stagnation. I noticed I wasn't even putting effort into anything. Everything I viewed through a negative lens. Everything was the worst case scenario. I already, even at that young age, started believing that my life was over and that I was going to be one of those cases of the 40 or 50-year-old uncle talking about, well, if I would have made it 20 years ago, life would be different, right? Even though I always made fun of those people and swore that I wouldn't be one, which will come later in the story, right? But for a while, I was really swimming in that. And I noticed that I spent a lot of my time losing myself in mindless entertainment, playing video games, right? At the time, I did have somewhat of an outlet because that one uncle, technically he's not an uncle of mine, right? He's a cousin of one of my dad's, but I would call him uncle, right? Ricardo was his name. I'd work with him, and he was the only one in our family that did well for themselves, right? He hustled when he was a kid. He went door to door. He started buying and reselling, right? He would take the train. He would literally go business to business, and he struggled for many, many years. And he finally, was profitable enough to start his own business. And he's really the only one in our bloodline, in our family at all, that did anything worth a note, right? The rest of our family in South America is like dirt poor, factory workers, live for the day, can barely survive, right? So I spent some time with him, helping him with his business. And I realized pretty early on, and he knew too, that, hey, it's not going to be a good fit, right? I knew he was looking for somebody to kind of take over the business later. He only had daughters, right? He was looking for a male, right? He was really, really good friends with my dad, right? They were cousins that got along very well. And there was the potential that he would leave that business to me or give me the opportunity to accept or not. Now, I knew right away, I was like, this isn't what I want to do. And we never even had that conversation. But in that meantime was just a lot of, again, roller coaster of emotions, me playing that victim and really looking at life through a weird lens that I know a lot of people either are dealing with right now, or you will, or you did at some point. So those are some of the mistakes that I made, and those are some of the early indicators. Not having any motivation, wasting your time, not looking forward to the next day, not being happy or excited about anything, getting lost in addictions like, drinking, gambling, video games, like anything in extreme excess. Because what happens is you get so jaded about your current reality that you just don't want to live it anymore. And you feel like, you know what? This is like a video game. I want to start over. Or I feel like somebody was playing the video game and it wasn't me and they chose the wrong path and I'm not satisfied. I want to do over. So you know what? I'm just going to throw in the towel and that's it. I'm just going to forfeit myself to the universe, to whatever it is and whatever. That's when you know, and that's really when you're deep in it, right? So for me, ultimately, later on, a couple things started happening that began this transition for me to get out of it. Number one was what I told you guys earlier. That was one of them, and it was big. I always used to make fun of the people that would talk about 20, 30, 40 years ago, right? But also, I would tell myself when I was younger, man, that's sad. I don't ever want to be that. So that idea started popping in my mind and becoming a lot more prevalent because I realized, hey, I'm slowly slipping into that. I'm only in the beginning stages because this just happened, but very quickly, 5 or 10 years can pass and I could be that individual. Okay. Number two, after a while, I realized that, man, me continuing to play the victim and do these things, it's now obvious to me and it's becoming clear that it's becoming an act. It isn't natural for me to do this. I'm having to now force it. And just like people will force the opposite end to like be cheerful or whatever, and we're like, oh, that's an act. I was doing the same thing. Sure, you have a period where you're upset, you cry, and it's devastating, like what happened, but eventually that gets out of your system, and now you're literally conditioning yourself to be that way by doing these things and thinking this way and being it. You're literally brainwashing yourself into becoming that. Because what's underneath the second point is we all have the capacity to change as human beings. We're going to talk more about that later in the video. But when I stopped for a moment, I said, dude, yes, this sucks and this is the way I'm being right now, but I can tell this is an act though. It's not really me. I'm in a way forcing this and playing the victim and relishing in it. That was the second one. The third one was I noticed you had a dichotomy here, two things basically. One, you had people who were breathing life into that and enabling that type of behavior. And on the other end, you had people who were telling you to snap out of it, letting you know it was a phase, or basically saying, hey, you'll grow out of it, everything's going to be okay. Luckily for me, I was not in an environment and around a lot of people who enabled it. Very few people did that. I got to give people credit because I rag on, people at times and sometimes my family for certain things, but in this respect, nobody enabled it. Right? Very few people were enabling it at all, if any, in my family or what I would call my immediate circle. And that light bulb went off to where that inquisitive part of my mind said, hey, I feel like I'm alone in this thing now, and people can't even really see my perspective, which led to me questioning it a bit. Okay? But let's say you're in an environment where it is being enabled. Well, this is where I would invite you, as now we start transitioning to the other part of the video about making a change. I would invite you to get out of those environments. If you're always in your house, get out of the house. If you're always around the same people, get around different people to begin this process so you can at least make a comparison. When I'm with them, how am I talking? What's my mindset like? How am I feeling? And then versus the other one, is there a change? This is why typically when people go through big life changes, divorce or devastation like this, and then go into new hobbies and meet new people and get new social circles, that aids them in this change and transformation. That's what I'm referring to here a bit. Because that third one was huge. And it wasn't so much that I was surrounded by enablers, it's the mind started noticing these things, saying, hey, it started making observations and thinking a little bit. It started activating a bit. Right? Number 4, I started looking at the future. I took stock of where I was at and took responsibility and said, hey, I've been thinking and feeling and living life a certain way the last 3 months, 6 months, year. What's that going to lead to the next 2, 4, 5, 10 years? Versus before, when I was really going after my goal and passionate about it and excited and enthusiastic. And I came to the conclusion that, man, before things, so I need to redirect the compass. Let's take a look at this thing objectively and logically. I'm only 24, 25 years old. I have my whole life ahead of me. Things happen. It's okay. Accept it and move on. Now, that process isn't going to be immediate per se, but it started to get the wheels turning. So that process began, right? We fast forward a little bit. I come back to the States. I'm still not 100% yet. I kind of fell back into, playing video games and in a way, delaying the acceptance of reality in a way, right? For a little bit, right? Not too long. I started trying to appease other people and going on like job interviews, even though I know I didn't want a job, right? You guys have heard the stories before. Maybe I'll make another video about that. But eventually I landed on getting into real estate because part of this process for me to get out of it, because by the time I started real estate, I had pretty much snapped out of this and turned a new chapter, right? New page. And I got a lot of this stuff out of my system. But in that interim, really what it was identifying the next thing for me. I said, basketball, that chapter is done. What's next? And I started engaging with life and really exploring and saying, well, where do I want to spend my time and what do I want to do? And I wasn't watching videos. All this wasn't out and didn't really exist back then, at least not to the degree that it is now. Because we're talking 2010, 11, 12, around that time. And I'm just, all right. So now my mind isn't sitting idly anymore, daydreaming about this negativity. I'm now attempting to identify what that next thing is for me, my purpose, right? However you want to describe it. And as I'm doing that, I'm beginning to explore, get advice from people, check out new subjects, begin to potentially, look into things that I'd be interested in, reading books. It starts that process of something new, something fresh, evolving, growing, progressing, right? And just being in that mode in itself started digging me out of it. Then when I identified, hey, I want to get into sales and I want to do real estate, and I really connected with who I wanted to be in the next couple of years, the type of character that I wanted to develop, the life that I wanted to live. And I got real intentional and clear about literally beginning the process piece by piece of building my life with something new instead of basketball. And then I engaged in that process. The rest of it dissipated, literally. Because now I'm reading books with an intention. I'm getting my real estate license and going to the classes with intention. I'm going to that office to train and get better for the day that I get my license. And I got in this mode of something new, fresh, something to look forward to every day. I'm on my purpose now, building my life, and I'm on to the next thing. Versus feeling like there's a hole, something's missing, blah, 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 woe is me. So I know I kind of Cliff Notes versioned a lot of these things for you, and maybe in the future I can dissect certain parts and do 15, 20, 30-minute videos about each one potentially, if people really want me to do that. But a few things of note that I want to let you know of as that process happened. Number one, when we idle and we do nothing, that's not good. We're not designed to idle physically nor mentally. So having the psyche, your mind, your vision, your imagination focused on what you want and where you're going is key to be on the other side of the emotional tone scale. Elation, happiness, looking forward to things, enthusiasm, laughing, right? Calm, comfortable, relaxed. That's what you want. Sitting idly, right? We don't want to do that. Number two, engaging with life. Talking to people, getting advice, exploring potential career opportunities, volunteering to work with somebody for a couple of days and apprentice for them for free, just to see, right? Even if I had other jobs and hustles that I was doing to keep the lights on and pay my bills, I still took the time and say, you know what? Hey man, you have a clothing business, let me work with you for a couple of days. Hey, you have a car detailing business, let me work with you for a couple of days. Like stuff like that. And seeing until I landed on real estate. Then I went to the office, I talked to people, and I was like, okay, yeah. Then when I identified what I wanted to dedicate myself to, I went all in. And the moment that I did that, all that other stuff was behind me. And I think for many people, they sink into that D word and they stay there because their focus is on the wrong things. Their ideas and thoughts and actions are on the wrong things. Their beliefs and philosophies at the core and their identity is getting wrapped up in that. Because remember what I mentioned earlier, every single human being on this planet has a capacity for change. And most of this issue of the D word is mental, most of it. There's some physical aspects of it and manifestations, absolutely, but most of it is mental. Most of it. And when you understand that you can change and you engage in that and you prioritize that, you're not going to have to worry about that. We are being more reactionary and reactive than we are being proactive and thinking ahead and planning. Everyone's like consuming social media and then saying, so this is what I want to do. Instead of saying, well, sitting there in silence or maybe reading a book and saying, well, do I enjoy my career path? What do I want to do? And just having that conversation with themselves. Everyone thinks they have to listen to somebody else at all times or watch a video or listen to a podcast. You don't have to do that stuff. Many of you confuse getting advice from me or somebody else is what you really want. And then you fool yourself where you'll look at something appealing, like me posting the Lamborghinis or the cars that I had, and oh, I want that. That's cool. You may want it. But before you saw me post it or say that I have it, did you want it? Or was that seed already there? Or was it planted when you saw me putting it there? Because then now if you chase after it, and I'm the one that planted that seed in your head, you're not going to get anywhere. Then you're going to come back and say, I'm not motivated. I don't feel like it. Well, you never really wanted it in the first place because you allowed me or somebody else to fool you into thinking these are the things or the life that you wanted to live or the things that you wanted to acquire, when that necessarily isn't the truth. That, by the way, also contributes to the D word, because then people feel lost. You hear that a lot. None of you are lost. You just haven't taken the time to be with yourself and connect with what you really want. This is why a lot of the old school stuff, journaling and meditation and spending time with yourself and in silence is so key. Because then you guys can really start utilizing your mind more, connecting with your true desires and goals and what you want, instead of just constantly listening to other people and creating a list of what they said that you think that you want. Then you become the authority in your life. You start taking responsibility, and the course of life and how you navigate it changes dramatically. But the more that you're in control and you sense that and you know it and you demonstrate it, you're not going to have to worry about what's on the other side of the emotional tone scale, including the D word. And one thing I mentioned in the beginning about the perspective on it, don't look at it as something catastrophic or bad. It's just on one extreme end of the spectrum. And if you are in it, you're experiencing it right now, you have in the past, right? But especially for those of you who think you're spiraling there or you're there right now, you can get out of it. And in the end, you will look at it, believe it or not, you'll look at it as a blessing because it taught you a lot. It let you know that you have the fortitude to go through it and make it out. Maybe it changed your perspective on things or enlightened you a bit or woke you up to certain things that now you operate life much better because you went through it. I look at my journey through sales and real estate the same way. All the rejection and things that I dealt with and breaking down in tears built me up. If I rewinded, knowing what I know now, I would redo it all over again because the trials and tribulations and tough times and emotional ups and downs taught me a lot. Same thing with the D word. That taught me a lot. And again, many people may not see that now or recognize it now, but you will in the future. Or if you've gone through it, you can comment below that you vibe with what I'm saying and you can connect with it because it's true. It's true. We never know how strong we are until we endure something that we thought we could not endure. Remember that. All right. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I'm here to help if you need me. Take advantage of some of the free resources I have in the description. Anything else I can do for you, let me know. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.